Tracks to big adventures. Oh my, those words have taken up so much of what Thomas means to me in the last few years. Today I figured it would be fun to talk about the story behind Tracks to Big Adventures so far and to see where it all started and where we are now. For those of you who don't know, the series was inspired by the video of the Unlucky Tuck, talking about everything wrong with Big World Big Adventures. And the most fun part of it all,
how to fix Bwabba.
I can't even tell you the amount of energy I got when watching that video. I got so excited, I immediately started making a plan of how to turn this vision into reality, in the form of trains. Something that had never been done before with the fan series as far as I know. Having Thomas visit different countries and really try to work everything together, such as Percival taking over the railway, who was doing Thomas's jobs on the branch line, etc. Continuity was crucial from day one. By the way, quick mention about continuity, I'm planning to make a playlist of Tracks to Big Adventures wherein the series is fully uploaded to YouTube, where all the episodes are in their chronological order. That way you can really see how well we handled continuity, in my opinion. Things like Emily wearing her number 12 in A Christmas to Remember, but not in Super Rescue. This is because A Christmas to Remember takes place just after the events of No One Quite Like Emily, and Super Rescue takes place before it. But back to our story. So there I was, with this big, enormous vision to make this thing work. What to do with Rebecca and Nia? I'm from the Netherlands, by the way, so making full correct English scripts was quite a task for me 4 years ago, and it pretty much still is to this day. And to be very honest, it somewhat shows in the first few episodes before I got a script editor. Filming started at the end of 2020, and eventually on January the 22nd, 2021, the world saw Tracks to Big Adventures for the very first time. I'm happy to say it was received quite well, and I was very proud of it, mainly because I had been working on it at that point for months now. There was, of course, room for improvements, and I think it's fair to say that the first few episodes don't quite hold up well with the pacing and with some of its visuals, but well, it was a good start. Where things really took a turn in the series, in my opinion, and where I noticed the fandom really started to catch on, was episode 3, The World's Your Oyster. The episode where everything falls into place, and where at the end of the episode, Thomas is being sent to Africa to start his world trip. A few months went by before we actually got to see Thomas's Africa adventure, because there were 2 episodes, episode 4 and 5, that took place on Sodor while Thomas was away. I wanted to make a better heartfelt version of Forever and Ever. You know, that horrible season 22 episode where everything felt so weird and forced and rushed. And I also wanted to do something interesting with Toby in the series, so I decided he should work at Ulstead from now on, with blue side plates and all. This was at the point in the series where I started to really enjoy working on it, and I became more certain that this thing that was in my mind was going to be quite big for me. Setting up all of these plot points meant a lot of creative freedom later down the road. And it led to stories later such as Night at the Museum, Rosie and Mavis, Super Rescue, Being James, etc. After a few months, we finally got to see Thomas in Africa, to kickstart the Nia arc. I'm still quite pleased with these 2 episodes in Africa about Nia, especially the first one, but the second one, honestly, I wish I could rewrite it and make a new version of episode 7. Perhaps I will someday, because it just doesn't hold up well from a writing standpoint, and the episode feels a bit forced and quick in some areas. I hope you all know where I'm coming from with this. Episode 8 was the first episode, as far as I can remember, where I had a script editor and a co-writer to help me out. And honestly, episode 8 is still one of my favorite episodes, but I don't see anyone really talk about it. This is the episode where we revealed our plans for Carly, being a crane at Brenham Docks still, just like the original show, but in a different area, from the classic series which everybody remembers. She she mainly works along Bulstrode and all the other engines, and Nia started her life on Sodor here. She had this dynamic with Oliver, which I always wanted to do because they both shared a fear of being scrapped in my series, and eventually Oliver gave Nia that little bit of extra solo strength she needed to push through to the end and get the job done. Okay, for the next episode, after 6 episodes without doing anything with her, the time felt right to redeem Rebecca after her big crash in episode 2. So that's where Rebecca's redemption came to be. This episode was the first of few things, such as having its own animation bits from Blender sprinkled in here and there to make it more impactful, and the first to be written entirely by someone else. And boy, I think this episode still is one of the more popular ones of the series, and in my opinion it deserves to be. This was the episode where Rebecca redeemed herself, and I hope that is the case, but at least to me it felt like we finally got to see the version of Rebecca we always wanted the show to have as well. Going through multiple trials, but in the end redeeming herself and becoming part of the main crew. The next episode, episode 10, was the very first winter episode of the series with snow, and it marked the season 1 finale. A Christmas episode as the finale, just like the classic series, huh? So this idea came to life by this little bit of inspiration from the Unlucky Tuck.
Her discovering new phenomenon she didn't have in Africa, like snow for instance. How fun would an episode about Nia dealing with snow for the first time be?
And I was like, yeah, damn, that episode sounds pretty cool, especially with a character like Nia, who has never dealt with snow before, where she comes from. And what better way to do it with characters she actually works with on Edward's branch line, such as Bill, Ben, Edward himself of course, and the returnee in this episode, Bogo. Fun fact about Bogo, this was the original design we had in mind for him, and we honestly overthought it, and in the end I thought it would be best to be more faithful to the original model, so we reverted him back. Series 2 premiered the day when my channel hit 100,000 subscribers, which really meant a lot to me and still does to this day, so still thank you all very much guys. For Series 2 a lot of new models were created, especially for the main characters, and these models will be used for the remainder of the series going forward. Series 2 was more episode based, but still with heavy continuity, and I think it was around this time the series really found its footing. We knew what worked and what didn't work. More and more writers joined me on this journey, and the creativity really shows. Rajiv's Royal Disaster is the most filler episode of the international ones, but I really like how it came out nonetheless. The next episodes, being Super Rescue and Being James, are both standouts of the series for me. I don't even need to explain Super Rescue I feel, but from day one I really wanted to give it that CGI treatment I felt the story always deserved. So instead for opting for a CGI version of, let's say, Bear, we decided to go with already television established characters such as D109 and Norman. Being James is really special, as I believe it was the first time I really got to work with the talented Thomas Vierwist, who had this idea for quite some time and loved to put it in action. Being James is everything I wanted out of CGI James. Good bonding with Edward, not just being a dick, and getting what he really deserves, to be a truly happy and confident engine. Now we have arrived at the second winter episode, and this one is all about Percy missing Thomas. At first we wanted to do an episode where we both had to focus on Percy and Thomas at the same time, but I felt the episode became too big and it was better to split it up, so this episode and Wish You Were Here came to be. Hero of the Mountains was heavily influenced and envisioned by Thomas Vierwist, who even liked the final story so much that I believe he put it into his Thomas Bible book as trivia for Ashima. How about that? This is the episode that really tied the great ways to the series and explains what happened before and afterwards with Ashima and characters like Rajiv. A lot of assets needed to be made for this episode, my god, and to this day I wish I could have used the assets more, but who knows what the future will bring. Night at the Museum was heavily inspired, of course, by Heart of Gold from season 23. And came to be when we were thinking of a good story to continue Toby's arc, now working at Ulfstead. I really liked the season 23 episode, and I hope it didn't feel like I was hating on it, but the only thing I just don't like is how Toby is portrayed as a worried, sad and insecure engine most of the time. I get it, it was the CGI series, that was basically how Toby was always portrayed in that era, but I figured I should make my own version of it. One that suited Tracks to Big Adventures perfectly. Fun fact, the alternate title for this episode was Oldies But Goldies, a reference to the line in Toby's song. Wish You Were Here was also heavily inspired by a Series 23 episode, going by the same name, Wish You Were Here. It only felt right after Percy got the spotlight episode, Missing Thomas, that we should do the same with Thomas, Missing Percy. Just to give you all a broad idea of the continuity in the series, this episode actually takes place around the same time as Newcomer Nia and Rebecca's redemption. From this point onwards, the series took a break for 8 months, which is too long for a series, and the reason why I'm kind of leaning on calling this episode the end of series 2, instead of episode 20, No One Quite Like Emily. The reason for all of this was quite simple. Life got in the way. This was the time I got busy with a job, with personal stuff, working out, etc. And I thought it was good to take a big break from the Thomas fandom. However, when I got to the Ordinary Extravaganza in July, I once again found that big spark again, and that really motivated me to push through with the series. So from September onwards, I really started to work on the series again, and I'm very happy to say everything is going to plan now. A lot, and I mean a lot of things have been produced and worked upon in the background lately, so that there is one thing that won't happen again: not releasing an episode for 9 months. On the 20th of November, Visiting Home premiered on YouTube, and this episode was my way of sort of fixing episode 7 in my mind. I'm kind of pleased with this episode, but this episode script was already a year old by this point, and I feel that after my big break I could have gotten more out of it, but well, it exists. It's in my opinion a good watch, and it gives some extra background and lore to Nia and Africa and Old Slowcoach. No One Quite Like Emily premiered 3 weeks later, and boy, this is one of the most exciting episodes I ever wanted to finish and worked upon. This one was so much fun. You know how in Super Rescue Emily didn't have a number 12, but in A Christmas to Remember she does? Well, both of these episodes were filmed in 2022, and even back then I knew how to film this with their number, so that this episode would make sense continuity-wise. This episode marks the conclusion of the arc that basically started all the way back in episode 1, but it mainly follows the events of episode 9, Rebecca's redemption. And no, Gordon wasn't stuck in the sheds for 3 years, so no. Rebecca's redemption takes place at the end of October, and this episode, No One Quite Like Emily, in December. So it wasn't for more than 2 months, so don't worry guys, Gordon is still in good hands. This episode also finally gave Emily something to do in the series, because up until this point she pretty much only existed, sorta. First ideas of this story were made in the summer of 2022, where we first called it Rivalry Rescue. An episode where Emily and Rebecca would argue with each other. Emily eventually needed to come to Rebecca's rescue, and then she would follow the same path as in season 24, becoming a rescue engine from now on. I never fully bought into this idea, mainly because it's so hard to write Rebecca as a bitch, and because I thought giving Rebecca this story, where she is actually true to her character, but still giving her a character flaw by not seeing when to be realistic rather than always very bright-spirited and optimistic, one of my favorite episodes of the series. So here we are now. 20 episodes have been released so far, with 6 still to come. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, Tracks to Big Adventures pretty much started production just after the original Big World Big Adventures series ended, in late 2020. This means that up until this point, my main channel focus has been on this series for 4 years. And don't get me wrong, I really love doing it, and I never even dreamt of creating a series like this, with such a following and positive feedback. But sometimes it really takes a lot of work to get these episodes done, guys. There were times when it took quite a mental toll on me. It's my passion, so again I love to work on it, but at times I was working so much on the series that my work and working out and dealing with things in personal life, it just took up too much of my time. That's where my decision comes from, to end the series with episode 26. Just like a full complete series of Thomas. This doesn't mean I will be leaving YouTube or the fandom. Of course not, I'll still be there, but after that 26th episode is done and released, I will be a bit less active in the fandom and on YouTube to keep my mind focused on more of my personal life stuff. The remaining 6 episodes are without a doubt pieces of work that I personally already consider as my biggest, most challenging but rewarding work I've ever done on YouTube. There is also a 2-part special on the way, as well as more character arcs in ways you could have never imagined. No, trust me and my team are really all pleased of what is to come. And as I already sent out all the final dialogue lines to the voice actors, I want to take this moment to personally thank each and every one of them. Without all of their voices, this series would never have been the same, and it would never be the way it is and became. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, voice actors. Thank you, friends, for providing such energy and fun to the series. This also feels like a good time to thank everyone who has worked with me in general. Thank you, lads. The series would never have been the way it is today without all of your help. And a big special shout out goes to TTBA. I still hope I'm pronouncing that right, sorry man. The person who helped me a lot during the course of the series. Starting all the way back in 2020, making models and cool animations, and just being a very good friend in general for so many years. Thank you, man. I owe you one. So yeah, that was basically it for this video. The series will finish in 2025. The same year as Thomas's 80th anniversary. And let's celebrate it together with the episodes that are yet to come. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to join my Patreon. It would really help to finish up things for the series and give me some more breathing space. And if you can't, that's totally fine as well. You watching this video already means a lot to me. Thank you all for watching, guys, and see you all the next time.